Welcome to the Professional Priestess Podcast, the place where medicine carriers learn to hold wealth, visibility, and devotion without contraction. Together, let's part the veil and meet the humans behind the magic. Speak to the oracles walking their divine path of service, and the alchemists transmuting density into divinity, all while navigating a very human experience. Together, we will explore shadows and sovereignty, sex and spirit. We will go deep into your soulpreneur business as initiation and visibility as reclamation. I'm your host, Lindsay Schroeder, professional priestess and spiritual mentor for leaders, healers, and those called to take their place at the forefront of the feminine revolution. Every episode is a transmission, every conversation an activation. Welcome to Season 2. This is your invitation to remembrance.
Holy shit. It's been a little bit since we've been here, me and you. There has never been more going on, and I cannot think of anyone better to launch Season 2 than Interdimensional Priestess, my dear friend, my sacred own priestess, sister, ancestral, all the things, Kelsey Isis. Welcome back to the Professional Priestess Podcast. I am overjoyed, beaming, bursting, and once again, trying to be chill.
You're doing a beautiful job. Thank you, Miss Sister Lindsay. I am so grateful to be here to kick off Season 2 and to really talk about what a incredible cosmic forecast we have going on.
So typically when I do episodes, they're not specific to the time. I've been doing work that really sits in this limitless and timeless and quantum space. But today in particular, I felt it was really important to bring Kelsey here and share this information in a way that only she can. And I've mentioned this on our first episode. So if you guys haven't heard her on episode 1 of the Professional Priestess Podcast, you got to jump back there and listen to that. But Kelsey not only channels the planets, but speaks for, with, through, around, on, in, all the things, to the point where like there has been a time when we were physically sharing space that I got, and those people who know me know, like, I don't really blush. Like, not like I'm a very sensual and very sexual person. Like, I love it. The stuff that makes most people blush, I'm like, oh yeah. But Kelsey was so in it with Neptune the other day when we were together that I was like, oh my God, like Neptune's here and it's like looking at me and it's like talking to me. And it's like over there, they're like blue, good. And I was just like being such a little schoolgirl in the corner, like fangirl, freaking out, like literal, like getting hot and blushing because the planets, like in the quantum, like they push through her and like exist and exude in our physical matter-based dimension because she connects so purely. So like this is such an insane time and it's so important for others to receive this information. And I think for us to like, okay, not only give the, but like, okay, what do we do with that? And how do we work and listen to our two different and do all of the things with it? Because this is truly one of those times where like you can miss the boat. And like as much as there's a like, you can't fuck anything up, like yes, but also there's like a fucking launch pad, there's a rocket ship, there's an archer pulling back that arrow, and like both of us want to make sure that like you get on the horse, guys. Like, so let's get on the horse.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And yeah, it was such a beautiful experience to watch you witness and feel Neptune in your space. You're like, oh my gosh, she's in my house. And it is such a delight to have this relationship with the planets. And I know I touched on it a bit in our first episode and how that came to be, how this gift opened in me and within me to really be able to speak to them. And it's only getting stronger as our awareness is growing, as our consciousness is expanding, right? And we are in this symbiotic relationship with the world and spirit and the planets around us. And I love that you did touch on the fact that a lot of what you share and what we share and the Priestess Code shares is timeless. And I would love to also offer to everyone listening to this, even if you've listened to it a year from the moment we're recording it, this is also timeless because, yes, we'll talk about actual dates that are happening in 2026, though this moment that's happening will go down in history. So if you're listening to this in 2029, it doesn't take any impact or power away from what we are about to say, because that it right now has been setting the tone for the rest of our lives. And the entire shift in consciousness and dimension in timeline is right now. I truly believe this is the moment where history is being made that we will talk about for centuries to come, right? So this is so potent to really record, to share, to talk. And those that are listening right now in live time, to be able to utilize, maximize, really get all the juice out, get on the horse and know where you're going, where the direction is, because astrology is just another tool that we get to use that can really support us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for us, right? So how do we read it? What do we do with it? What is it communicating? Hence needing a translator. And that is me, here to support, to translate all of that energy into practical, what does this mean for my day-to-day life? And that's what I'm hoping that people take from this conversation today.
You also just gave me an idea of doing an episode together, me and you, about revisioning and about the past only being real in your mind, to be able to utilize moments like what you're talking about. If someone in a few years finds this and is like, oh, did I miss that boat? Did I not? That you can actually go back and revision with that current understanding of like, oh, let me bring up my past self. Let me revision that. Let me actually change my current moment because I've changed that past in my own mind. So we'll have to do that
I
for you
have
guys too,
full chills.
right?
Yes, absolutely. Because this work that we're doing and continuing to do, and really what this is a jump point for, is full quantum divine embodiment. I have full body chills right now. And what does that mean, right? It
Mhm.
does mean that years from now, you can absolutely go into memory bank, because it's all story, and rewrite the timeline. So if there's something happening now, and you can do this from now back, right? Or from
Yes.
then to now, whatever that looks like, and really create the functionality and the remembrance code inside the DNA. We change that all the time. We rewrite the contracts all the time. That's a different conversation. But it is absolutely possible, and only getting stronger by the second at this point.
Yes. Oh my God. What a way to start off. And we haven't even told you guys what we're talking about yet. So let's start by grounding down this like first big date and thing. And like, what is this conversation today?
I would call, again, a astro forecast, a cosmic energy forecast. We really want to deliver some key dates that you want to lock in, to understand, to process the energy around them, why this affects our day-to-day life in the interpersonal and in the collective, and how the astrology, these big planetary movements, and I'll give you some context and some words around the vocabulary about what the planets are doing, so you can take that with you. And then really take that into embodiment practices to apply this to every day, so that again you can maximize the energy that's available and essentially ride the wave on top, right? Like if you're surfing, you don't want to get cut in the undertow, right? You want to be on the board, riding the wave, catching that, and really just going for it. And so what this talk is about is giving you the tools, the checkpoints, the bullet points, right? The notes, so that you know what's coming, because we are meeting and recording this even on a super impactful, powerful day, which we will start the conversation here, on how to utilize all of this and really expand your life into your greatest dreams, because that is absolutely possible. And I know some of you listening might be like, well, the world's going a little crazy right now, or a lot crazy. I'll take the little out. And it is, and that's the point. And we're going to talk about it because that needs to happen. So how do we reconcile and understand and grieve, but still explore and expand and accelerate ourselves?
Mm. It's like literally bringing me to tears. The idea that like so much is coming to a head, so much is coming to fruition, so much is happening. And I know both of us have really, we have been riding the waves and have been under, like pulled under by what is going on in the world right now. And as much as we have a lens to understand it and see that like the patriarchy is dying, is wailing, is screaming, and we also understand how long a process like that takes, both from a cosmic perspective, astrologically speaking, the fall and rise of regimes, but like as a priestess called to this path, called to support so many of the individuals who don't have that internal direct communication line, either with the planets or with the cosmos, or maybe don't have that with their own guides or guardians, or those of you who feel God, but maybe don't connect to the language, don't necessarily identify with like, oh, I hear the whispers of God or goddess. There are those of us who do hear, see, feel, connect in these very direct ways. And a lot of us are called to share this, to support the others, and ideally to awaken others to their own form of connection. And that for me is such an important piece of not only my priestess path, but so many of the priestesses that I bring on the podcast and so many of the collaborators that I work with, even like energy healers. So many of us agree to this, that like we are not just the ones who get to hear, the ones who get to see, the ones who get to have these gifts. A lot of our work is so rooted in awakening it within you, because everyone has the capability. Everyone is intuitive. Everyone is extrasensory. It's how are you working that? How are you utilizing that? How are you strengthening that? What is your belief and connection to that? And so we want to bring this information to the forefront, but so much of this conversation is going to be focused on, and what do you do with it? You, the individual listener, what do you do with it? And how do you benefit from it? Not just have the enjoyable spiritual experience of listening to us talk about it, get really excited about it, and tell you how we're going to benefit and use it. We really want to share that piece and that encouragement, and that like the opposite of gatekeeping, where we're both like, come in, let me show you, let me give you all the options, and do the opposite of like, this is the one way that you do this. That both of us are like, there's a multitude of ways. There is like something that fits everyone. Like this is for everyone. Each and every one of us can receive tangible benefits from what is coming. And so also that recognition of preparing yourself and understanding the waves that might be moving through you, especially those of you who are really tapped in body wise, energy wise, but maybe don't have the like mental clarity around what was that, or why do I feel things like that, or have the names or the tools right now. We want to bring support to each and every one of you wherever you are in your own spiritual, intuitive priestess journey.
Absolutely. Shared so well. Thank you for that. And that is also my intention and my prayer out to anyone that listens into this, and that it gives us a platform in order to share some wisdom, some dates, some times, some a practical just understanding. I'm really hoping to decode some of this mysticism, right? And give tangible results, to have conversations, to have those aha moments, to have that moment of Satori where the divine awakening hits and touches the third eye. And it's just like, yeah, okay, I get it. That's what this has all been for. Like, you're not alone. What has the last several years been about? We're going to talk about Saturn and this timeline since 2023 and what has been coming through. There's also longer timelines that I'll touch on and things, just to give these deep recognition points so that we don't have the separation between us and the spiritual experience that we're having. Because sometimes when energies, especially the outside world, ends up being stressful, bringing on frustration, the emotions increase, get high, and then we stop, we lock down, we hit the story, the fear, whatever it is, the pattern recognition, and then it halts progress because there is unknown in the experience. And that isn't going away, though I intend and hope and pray that this conversation gives some clarity to that so that the frustration can be met with some grace, some understanding, and some reflection. And then movement and progress gets to happen, because as soon as we hit next week, there is an acceleration point, which we'll dive into. And this is what we've been preparing for. And even if you, the listener, hasn't understood exactly what you've been preparing for, it's becoming more clear. And we're about to give some context. And then that will only expand from that point.
Mm. So the two of us are sharing this space on Friday the 13th, the day of the goddess, anchoring these offerings, these teachings, these wisdoms, these interpretations, these
Mm.
translations for you to prepare you for the major events that start next week. And so I am personally very excited to hear your interpretation of this again. And so a lot of this is going to be the second time that I'm getting to hear you talk about these things. The first time was in our shamanic group that we share space in. And like, it is such a supportive practice to be able to hear your interpretation so consistently. And yet, this one, I was like, we need to do a lot more with that. So tell us what is
Yeah.
coming? Like, what are we talking about that we're
Okay.
like, "Oh my god, it's so big that we're talking around it for such a long time?"
Whoo! Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Again, full body chills. So, as you mentioned, today we are recording this on Friday the 13th, the day of the goddess, which I'd love just a little invitation of the fact that there's been a distortion field around this beautiful day. It is Freya Day, and it's really honored and reverent to bring in these lunar cycles, our internal bleeding cycles, right? Like the womb energy and the womb medicine and this deep feminine code. And then what's happening today, which will come in after we record this. So right now, Saturn, a more masculine planet of structure, of form, of karmic lessons, of teaching, of really like the 3D manifestation of energetics. That's what this planet holds, rules over, invites into. That's where some people who are into astrology talk about Saturn returns, right? Because that comes in our late 20s and it really reorganizes and re-identifies who we are. And a lot of people change their lives drastically in this 2.5, 3 year window when you're in your Saturn return, which is always another magical moment we can talk about in a different conversation. So Saturn right now is at its tail end of Pisces, right? As we're recording this, and this is what we talked about in our shamanic weave and really opened up this energy. And I wanted to share more of it because the last sign of anything, like when you're in that last 29th degree, we call it an anorenic degree in astrology. It's when everything is building, right? Like that champagne bottle's been shook and it's about to pop. Everything is so vibrant and so full of life and it's so ready to move on. It's also so full and like, okay, I've learned all I needed to learn. Like, let's go. And we're literally in hours, just literally like 2.5 hours from Saturn changing into Aries. 0 degree Aries is the birth point of the zodiac. It's a wheel. Aries is the first sign, 0 is the first degree. That is literally the spark of creation, first house, rebirth, like complete initiation into astrology and the energies that we know and understand. Neptune, our planet of dreams, has already transitioned about a week and a half ago into Aries. And now Saturn has also been doing this dance. It went into Aries for a little bit and then it retrograded, which means a planet kind of slows down and stops from our point of view on Earth, doesn't actually stop in the sky, right? And then it looks like it's going backwards. So it goes into a different sign in our sky and it went back into Pisces. And now this is the last moment. This is the last couple hours and it will not be back in Pisces. And it's going into Aries and it will then collect all this energy and shift forward. Now, when this podcast comes out and we talk about it, we will be on February 17th, which is the eclipse and the solar eclipse in Aquarius, which is the new moon, and it will be the Lunar New Year in the Chinese zodiac, which I will talk about in a moment because I do deeply want to talk about this Saturn piece. But you will then have time until February 20th to really ask yourself some deep questions. And again, if you're listening to this later, still please reflect. But know if you're listening to this actively, this is the moment to dive in. We want to ask yourself in a big way, what have I learned since March of 2023? March 2023 is when Saturn went into Pisces. And it has been a redefinition of the structure, of the creation, of the foundation, of the platform, right? That's all those Saturn energies. And then Pisces rules our spiritual lives, our emotions, the deep, deep subconscious. But how that also comes conscious, because as Pisces is seen as the two fish, right? One's subconscious and one is conscious. And they're constantly always like chasing each other's tail and finding that like balance, that harmony in how we go inward, how we bring it out over and over and over again, how we're out and then it takes us back in, right? So within these questions, where is a mask or a facade that I now see and am taking accountability for when it comes to my spiritual life? Whether that is connecting deeper into things that light me up, right? If that is meditation practice, if you want to go like actual physical, talking to God, having conversations with yourself, your spiritual knowing, your divine embodiment in these ways, things that aren't just the physical manifestation in the outward ego. And this is a key point. We're going to talk a lot about what ego even means and how it's changing, how what we've believed it to be, especially in the spiritual community of wanting to like disconnect from it, what it really is and how we're redefining it. That's Aries medicine. It's all about identity and what is the true version of sovereignty, which can also be interchanged with the ego if we use it properly, if we understand it properly. So, what have we not seen spiritually? It's a great question. And then in Pisces, this is about taking full accountability. It's not about blaming and putting this expectation, or blame's just a good word. Don't blame the outward of it's the political climate, it's my finances, it's my relationship, it's my housing, it's the fact that I'm way too much or whatever, right? Like we have these stories, these identities, these traumas that create a story that we create identity over. Boom, boom, boom.
Mhm.
And then we go into blaming outward sources and not creating change, or desiring change, but not taking full accountability, which is where we end up deceiving ourselves. Saturn in Pisces, since March of 2023, has been attempting to show us where we are doing this. It is holding a mirror up to all the areas that you are deceiving yourself and creating big lies, white lies, doesn't matter, right? And hiding from your own potential power and your connection to spirit, your connection to God, your connection to yourself, to your heart, to your womb, right? Like, where is the inward conversation that's happening? And how has that been relevant? Where have you been noticing that you've actually been waiting instead of initiating?
Mhm.
Or that you've been, or better question, are you willing to embrace the lesson and stop resisting?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a way to say that. Are we willing to embrace the lesson, or are we still choosing the stories and the comfort and the stagnation? And I think that has been such a big piece for so many of us, especially those on the like path of being called, of like there are still so many safeguards, so many little ways in which it's so much easier to stay in our own comfort zones. And a lot of times our comfort zones are different than the general public, the collective's comfort zone. And since those are opposite, different, a lot of times we can build those narratives around, oh, but I'm doing the work and yet I am still doing the same thing just in my own space. And so using our meditation and our practices and our spirituality and all of these pieces to allow us to stay stuck instead of making those choices and moving forward. And for a lot of us, it is engaging in the public again, the human world again,
Mm-hmm.
descending
Mm-hmm.
into the body, bringing this into the third dimension, because our comfort zone is in those higher dimensions. So I love the way that that started and how you like chose to rephrase it as well.
Thank you. Um, Yeah, I want to touch a little bit on what Saturn and Aries brings. Like, what's the potential
Yeah.
energy here? And then we'll go into this conjunction with Neptune and the other aspects that are coming up, especially the solar eclipse. So we'll kind of go in order of dates so people really can process and understand. But just to highlight, why do I care that Saturn's in Aries? What does that mean, right? Um, Saturn's going to be in Aries until 2028. So this is again a timeline for us to really start to restructure in a new way. So now it has this Aries lens, and that is going to bring bullet points, independence in a new way, and reestablishing comfort with your true identity. Now, what does that mean? That means what we just were talking about, touching on releasing these stories, having some understanding of what I keep calling it divine embodiment, which obviously those are absolutely my words, but bringing in the human and the divine. We are 100% human and we are 100% divine at the same time, right? And so which one is where are we acting from in that moment? How do we find harmony between the two? Because we are multidimensional beings having a very human experience, and that's beautiful. And we want to play and explore. And Aries wants to go create, feel, sense, passion, texture, right? Like, go do the thing. Do the thing before you think about the thing. We'll talk about it later, right? Like, that's so Aries, especially mixing with the fire horse energy, which we will talk more about. But again, fire. Aries is a fire sign. It's the first
Yeah.
one. And so this Aries in Saturn energy is, where do we take initiative, but responsibly? We are now redefining, because like, we do things, we take initiative, we create action. There's been lots of masculine patriarchy, like, I'm just going to go do, create, be, right? And it doesn't ask questions. It just does, even if that's creating harm in a collective experience, right? We're seeing that a lot, obviously, in our political climate, us being in the US, but it's all over the world. And this is a long lasting build. That long lasting is Saturn. Saturn wants to build for the future. It doesn't want just a quick, this is what we're doing this month. It wants the 5, 10, 15, 30-year plan, right? And so we are learning patience in our leadership is what Saturn in this timeline is bringing, right? So between now and 2028, how do we lead from a balanced, grounded, integral place? How do we have the courage, Aries, to lean into the tests that Saturn is going to bring? It's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? We're not just galloping into the sunset and there aren't any challenges. Challenges are the way through. They're not in your way. They are the way. They are showing us, they are guiding us. This is calling in anger management, right? Like, ways that we can diffuse, understand, have calming practices. We'll touch on some of that more later if it arises. And then having assertiveness from a sense of wisdom. I almost even want to say maturity, because Saturn is about maturity. And I'm not saying don't play, don't have that inner child, but I implore us to all understand where the balance is so that we can cultivate what we are growing and building and having a voice to what we're doing as a collective community. So we're in a sovereign relationship with ourselves and with the world around us, right? Within our very tangible, very physical lives that we live day to day. Like, this is a beautiful question. Thanks, planets. Thanks, Saturn. We're going to have to learn to lead under pressure. So the first and foremost question is, can you lead yourself? Can you first lead and guide yourself? Do you have the determination? Do you have the dedication? Do you have the love? Do you have the grace? Do you have the self-compassion to lead yourself? And we've been building and clearing all of the things and the stories and the false identities out of the way so that we can lead ourselves more profoundly, better, clearer, more honestly. And that's what it's calling for. Authentic truth, honest, vulnerability.
Love the way that Saturn brings the maturity to this first sign, to this Aries that you're talking about. And for me, when I witness Aries in this space in particular, you were talking about very childlike, very baby like, and Aries is the like baby of the zodiac of like textures and color and like that presence that you can have with your third dimension, with the environment, with the enjoyment and the beauty of being human in a body here and now, but that we bring that maturity to it, that we come back to this childlike desire, this childlike interest, these childlike hobbies, these authentic pieces of self that we understood so clearly as children, but that we bring maturity to it. And that this is such a sacred graduation point for so many of us on the path of I am called to be at the forefront of this revolution. I have medicine to give, I have gifts to give. I am changing the collective by changing myself. Even if we are, like Kelsey and I, giving work that supports others in changing, like you're saying, leading the self is first and foremost, because that is the biggest way that we change the collective is by changing our internal state. And I love how much you were talking about that integrity and maturity and that willingness to move through extreme difficulty. Like, obviously, guys, the fires that are on our planet, figurative and literal, they're not going to get smaller. And yet we need to navigate them differently. We need to navigate them better. And we still need to not lose. And I've been talking a lot about this in my content and on my pages and platforms. This is not the time to get quieter about your work. This is not the time to get smaller. And I've had to like do so much around that of like, oh, with everything going on, it's disrespectful to be talking about my bit. No, it's the absolute opposite. This is how we change the planet. This is our contribution to the collective. And people out there need this work, need this support more than ever before. And so it is on each of us to be doing this like back and forth dance with Aries and with Saturn to help move us forward and utilize this trajectory long term, that we are on this path of like coming back to that childhood magic, but with the maturity. What am I building? And am I building in the correct direction? And am I building with integrity?
Mm, you said that so beautifully. Yes, thank you for the transmission. And this is the powerhouse time of that both and theory that I love to call, right? Like multiple things are true at the same time. So it is both that divine inner child play enjoyment of the world, because without joy and art and love and creation, what are we living for?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, how do we also bring that into our world with this sense of self mastery? That's what Saturn is always trying to invite us into. It just has all these different flavors of energy depending on what sign it's in. But it is about self mastery and practicing what you preach, what you teach, what you learn, what you know, what you believe in to be true. Um, I wasn't gonna switch up the planets right now, but Venus just came in, and Venus is in Pisces right now. So we're talking about this Pisces energy and the North Node, which is our destiny line. So Pisces is what we value and how we relate to things, love, money, relationships, right? And then the North Node is our arrow. It's our destiny, and it's an 18-month cycle for the collective experience for those of you wanting to learn a little bit. And right now it's been in Pisces, that North Node's in Pisces, and Venus and the North Node are together right now. So what do you value most? What matters to you? Because that is what we go to. Everything else with these couple, I'm going to talk about the solar eclipse coming up, and then the conjunction between Neptune and Saturn, and everything that is not on a foundation of this truly just means the world to me, this lights me up, this is my passion, is going to crumble. Period. You can't hold on to it anymore. I'm sorry, it's leaving. Like, it's not me that it's happening. But I have compassion for those people who are like, but I'm still kind of attached to this.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. And you can have some attachment, and that's where, like, can we reconcile and understand where the story still is and where the identity is connected to whatever that is? Because does it really actually matter? The things that you value and matter fully down in your gut, in your heart, they will stay. Um, Such a wild time. Thank you, Venus. Yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot of this transition between this Pisces and energy and Aries energy. So the threshold between what was the 12th, like 12th sign, the end, the I've learned all the things, and this rebirth, this fascination into what is coming is all the planets are like crossing this threshold into the new timeline, into this new dimension. We've been talking about it, and a lot of sensitive people have been feeling it. So maybe you're like, oh yeah, this has been coming for years. Like, what do you mean? Like, we are actually here astrologically crossing. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. And that's coming with this solar eclipse, which is the 17th of February, 2026. There is this Aquarius solar eclipse and the Lunar New Year in Chinese astrology, which brings in the fire horse. Do we want to start talking about that? Because
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
moment. Okay, beautiful. This is a bold cosmic reset. Like, I deeply feel intuitively in my connection with the planets and just spirit in general is this is your choice point.
Yeah.
And we've had many. Yes, we've had many. And is this the only one? Is this the last one? No, I'm not
No,
saying that at all.
there'll be more, but
This
pick this one.
there
Pick
will
this
be
one,
more.
guys. Get on it.
Right. So where do I even want to start with this? This is anchoring in truth. So let's start with an eclipse, right? An eclipse is like a vacuum, a magnet of energy that takes energy that no longer serves us as a collective experience and sucks it out, makes it go away, right? And so it draws and magnetizes everything to the surface. And we are actively in that. We will continue to feel that. And then it sets the tone for 6 months into like through eclipse season, right? And we get a solar eclipse, we get a lunar eclipse. That one's not coming until April. And so right now we're in an annual solar eclipse. This is what happens every year, happens at different times, but here we are. And the cosmic weave of consciousness has picked that the solar eclipse, which is the new moon, that's how it's created, is also birthing this fire horse, right? In all this energy. And it is a really beautiful, divine moment that is also in square to Uranus, the planet of great awakening, of massive change. And Uranus rules Aquarius. So these energies are all working together, highly amplified, because they're like on their home turf, right? If we were going to use sports references, they're on the home field and they are playing to win. And this is accelerating our collective awakening. We've had moments. This is another one, right? This is where DNA consciousness is like activating and taking off in a really fast way. And the sun, even if you've tracked the sun or interested in like the solar flares, CMEs, things like that, the solar weather is also amplifying to help support this crystallization and activation of our DNA.
Let's talk a little bit about those of us who can see when the collective awakens at these new levels. So, like, there are seers, there are oracles, there are prophets, there are priestesses, there are witches, there are all these different beings, versions of us, of the grouping of healers, light workers, new earth leaders, however you want to refer to us, who have this ability to see ahead of time, see back in time, see up and down through time. And we a lot of times hold beliefs that science, that the general public does not hold as true yet, that holds as magic. And the collective ups and comes to like meet a lot of what we see outside of time and space in a very linear or third dimensional time frame. And I don't know about you, Kels, but I have been seeing so many of these big collective awakenings and shifts. And what I like to say, like when the muggles come to something, and then when like the people like who are spiritually curious and kind of feel, and then those people, and I love this subsect, those who like really embody it and get it, but don't logically or like of the mind pull it apart, but are just like being it and doing it and in alignment with it, like already live cyclically or already like in that. But I have seen and really identified and been so drawn to the collective awakening. And it is so supportive for me personally in my practice to hear you speak so much about how this is accelerating the collective awakening, because that is one of the pieces that I have like really, really fucking
Yeah.
seen. And as a seer, as a priestess, I feel like the soccer mom on the sideline be like, yeah, like literally like
What's happening?
yelling, and like I have my signs and I have my
Yeah.
foghorn, and I'm just like so excited to like usher so many of these JV players who are just rapidly moving up to varsity and like getting new skill sets and putting more into it and getting more dedicated. And like, yeah, I like kicked a ball around for a little bit and now I'm like committed to this. I have this belief. I like care so much about this. I am awakening in such a potent and powerful way. And I feel so many individuals seeking and searching. And so like
Yes.
it being so cosmic and it being so third dimensional, and for me that plugging in, that descending into the human, getting back into the quote unquote real world and seeing it has been such a breath of fresh air and has deeply reinvigorated my practices and my offerings and like how I'm even approaching my work.
Yeah, that's stunning. I deeply feel it personally as well. There's been such a change in how to offer the work, right? Like on in these deeper aspects of those of us that are feeling it, are working with it, are actively doing the work, we're we had to re-identify with how to share, how to support, how to put it out there. And at least for myself, there's been this shift to go internal, that really for me has actively been all of this Saturn and Pisces. Like I in 2023 went inward and am only now been feeling, especially through this retrograde of the last several months, with just this dance into Aries where I'm like, "Oh, it's actually awakening.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can put that
Yeah.
out there. Oh, I have new language and new words for what's coming." And I know that's only going to accelerate, and people are showing up to be like, I can feel these things. I need more context, or help me, jumpstart this because it is accelerated. And that means that people are feeling acceleration in their body, and you may not know exactly how to get from point A to F, and want support from those of us that can help you. And that's where we really show up and do this work and are like, oh, yeah, let's jumpstart this for sure. And be able to really go there. And the invitation that I would love to offer in the midst of everything that's going on, and it might be chaotic, or it might bring frustration, or you may feel that you're behind still, and that's okay. Saturn is wanting you to be really honest about where you may feel behind and aggravated, even frustrated. I want to throw in the towel energy, but you're not willing to actually do that, right? Like the emotions don't take it out. And that's where coming in to do work with you, me, priestesses, energy workers at this time can really help to remind us that we're right on time.
Yeah.
This cosmic energy is here right on time to help, to support. You are exactly where you need to be. I know we hear that so many times and it feels cliche coming out of my mouth, but like, don't get caught up in the frustration. Use it to activate. Everything needs to crumble and fall. We cannot build this life of peace and creativity and unification and these higher timelines on what's actively going on. Right. And we could name things. I don't know that we need to in this conversation. But building on broken foundations is not a good idea. Right. So like it has to fall. And now we get to be part of this full rebirth. Like zero Aries is building from zero. And it may feel like that. And maybe some people are listening to this, parts of me even listening to this are like, do I have to? What do you mean from zero? Like I've put in so much work. And I know you and I have talked about this. And I'm hoping some other deeply spiritual practitioners that are listening may really resonate with this moment. We've done so much work and study and practice and remembrance and reconciliation to get to where we actively are and feel comfortable. And yet everything is now different
Yeah.
and it's changed. And a lot of those same tools either don't work or they don't work in the same way. And how can that be something exciting and beautiful and given us a lot of depth and understanding so that this next wave of learning, exploring, and remembering and the disclosure that's coming through, the actual herstory that has been coming through from what is real about human consciousness
Yeah.
will be digestible much quicker because we have learned. And then those who are just awakening to these moments and this understanding can be held by those of us that can actually rapidly move through these things and not get caught up in ways that we have before. And we always do. We still will. But can we shift through it and with more grace, with more ease, and with a more quantum timeline?
Yeah. So guys, we've talked about Saturn shifting into Aries. We've talked about the eclipse. We've talked about the new moon. We're going to step into talking about the Lunar New Year, the non-Gregorian New Year, a new year that is more aligned with true cycles and the cyclical nature of things. And we already mentioned that we're recording this on Friday the 13th, the day of the goddess. And I just want to share with everybody that one of the reasons that you probably have heard of or maybe even hold a negative association with the 13th
Mm.
is the patriarchy, colonialism, like all of these very masculine, power hungry, control focused regimes stripping the goddess out of our cyclical understanding. So pulling the 13th month out, pulling the number 13 out, pulling the reverence to the feminine. And so I love the fact that we are like recording on this day, bringing that back in and really allowing this education to be supportive to you, as Kelsey's already mentioned, down to the cellular level, down to the DNA level, reawakening and having these massive remembrances inside the own self, inside the physical body, inside the mental body, and the mind that is the conscious mind that is bigger than just the brain itself. And then your full essence, your full soul, your spirit, which I believe cannot be fully contained within the body. We can put quite a bit of it into the body and to our energy body, but that this is such a transition point, not just for those of us who are at the forefront of this revolution, but as you said, even those who are like curious, to allow yourself to be supported and held and moved in this direction in that really sovereign way, even when it is just like starting with curiosity. So I would love for you to get into what it means to be the Chinese New Year as well. And then not just around the 17th when this will be launching, but how do we use the next few days and then what's coming on the 20th and like this whole chunk of time and how potent and powerful, and to remove the pressure of how to use it and get into just the excitement of how to utilize
Mm,
this.
yeah, absolutely. And I really want to pin that. Like, we don't want to be in the pressure that we're going to miss out on this moment. We really want to be excited that it's happening, that it's changing, even with crazy, horrendous things going on in the world. I won't not name them, but we don't want to give those things energy. And I know there's always this
Yeah.
conversation around like, well, if we don't talk about it, how can we change it, and there's a different line between managing your state, your internal identity, your energy, your field, because you're imprinting on everything around you. You imprint when you walk into a room full of people, the grocery store, right? Going on the internet, sharing your voice, being on your stories, talking to anyone. You're constantly imprinting those around you. And you're constantly imprinting the collective experience that's part of the earth grid. Now, in this, the Chinese zodiac, which I am not a Chinese astrologer, but I do love and practice and celebrate the Chinese Lunar New Year. Every year, I have for many years. It's actually when I pull like my tarot card wheel of the year. It's always on the Lunar New Year. And I always do it in a 13 card pull. And I truly believe that it does collectively imprint an energy that we experience throughout a year time. I personally do not celebrate like the Gregorian calendar January 1st, New Year, because then the astrology New Year is the spring equinox, right? When Aries season, 0 degree Aries, like we've been talking about, hits with the sun. And that is the solar New Year. So we have the Lunar New Year and the solar New Year. Um, and this Lunar New Year does go by a 13 lunar cycles. It's very connected to the more subconscious feminine aspects, which means it goes deep and it reworks our cells in a really big way. And those of you, whether you're aware that it's been the year of the snake this last year or not, let me ask, have you felt shedding, changing, transformation, death and rebirth cycles? Maybe you've been sick, ill, it's been so physical, had injuries show up, whether they had a reason or purpose, or they've been mysterious, because there's been both. Relationships ending, jobs ending, moving, everything changing this year, which so many of us have felt. So just reflect. What's this year really done? What's been removed? Because that is what's made space for now. We're going into the year of the fire horse. There's always an element and a animal.
Huh?
And so it was the wood snake, just to be clear, and now it's the fire horse. And it brings independence. It brings freedom. It brings acceleration and momentum, right? Like it does bring that power and strength of the horse. I do want to offer the transition is still going to take a little bit of time. We're not full stallion. Ponies need a little moment to find their feet. They're a little flimsy, and like soft and tender and need some nourishment, right? Like, and that's, we're going from, I think this is really beautiful just from my own channel. We're going from snake, no feet, to horse, muscle, legs, gallop
Mhm.
into the sunset energy, right? Like, that is so different.
Yeah.
And we are to have this eclipse be this moment that we are going and transitioning into a complete, we go from no legs to four
Mhm.
hyperspeed. Okay, baby. Like there is a lot that's being offered here and meeting with this Aries energy. And as it continues, I find this just in astrology really divine because through the April eclipse that we're going to have and the solar new year, we're going to have 9 planetary bodies in Aries. That's a lot of fire.
Oh, yeah.
9.
That's
I've never
exciting.
seen that happen in astrology somewhere, like, I haven't gone back through all the records through all the years, but, like, that's not a thing commonly,
Mhm.
right? It is exciting, but it also means things are gonna be spicy, they're gonna be hot, people are gonna be frustrated, right? We want to be aware of the both and in this, and choose your state, create it, manifest it, be attentive to it, be intentional behind it. Um there was something you said that inspired this thought, and I'm not exactly sure where it fits, but here we are. Your responsibility is noting and taking awareness of where you are spiritually. Take spiritual responsibility for where you are, how you interact with the world, and how that imprints on the collective experience. We're not feeding the fear. We're not feeding the distortion codes. Right now, there is a lot coming up. There is a lot going to continue to come up. This fire horse is going to bring a lot of disclosure, truth. That means truth to things that we've been lied about for a really long time and been taught to believe and never even questioned. Maybe some of us have.
Mhm.
Um, and this is what are the words that are coming through? There's a lot happening all at the same time right now. Um, the old world is becoming irrelevant. That might be a lot to digest for some
Yeah.
people. Then I'm gonna kind of pause in that. Right, right.
And what do we do with that? And how much we can be lost when we hear that? Like, how do you even process that in your own body? When you hear that, does that terrify you? Does that excite you? Is it a both and? And what do we do with that? Like, there's
Yeah.
so much as it pertains to like what is dying. because as you've mentioned, like we can't grow something new with a bunch of weeds there. And so there is this like massive dying off process that's happening. And yet that can be so terrifying, even when it is things that like we want to die or like want to rebirth in a different way.
Absolutely. And that I think is the start of this practical part of the conversation. What do we do with it? So that's a great first thing. So when I say the old world is irrelevant and it doesn't exist anymore and it's not going to continue and the things that you were building aren't going to continue in the way that you thought they were going, how does that make you feel? This is a
Mhm.
first thing. Like, that's a practical. How does that make you feel? Does it bring up fear? Does it bring up resistance? Does it bring up excitement? Is it a both and? What is that space? I'm going to get into some more practical things, but what's coming through right now that I feel if you're as you're feeling into it, because I can literally feel the like future energetic of people being like, okay, this is all the things that brings up for me. Your old identity might have been exactly what you needed. It may have been exactly right. I'm not saying you did it wrong, you planned for the wrong thing, you found the wrong purpose. None of that is what I'm saying. It might have been exactly perfect, whatever that means. We're not going to get into that. Exactly as you needed it up until this point, because now the timeline is changing. So you didn't necessarily do it wrong. You didn't build towards the wrong thing. We're just entering a new era and a new level of truth, which means a new identity, a new purpose, a new something, right? Okay. And now how? Energy shifts timelines and reality faster than physicality, right? Can we all agree on that? That like your intuitive gnosis is changing faster than like I actively go to the gym and it takes X amount of time because it's a physical experience, right? So how do we then take what we've been learning on a spiritual level and all this Pisces energy. So whether that be the meditation practice, the journaling, the dance, the movement, those kinds of things, and make them physical, right? Like that we bring them into physical. We use practices that calm the system. I actually want to say that breath work and meditation, if you haven't already been doing them, it's time to start. It is
Yeah.
time to start, to get clear, to listen, to know that you can sit without distraction for an extended period of time. I know we all have been, very connected to devices and scrolling, and we all have our moments with it. And that's okay to an extent. Though, what are you choosing to commit your energy to? Because right now, I'm going to tell you your focus is your superpower going forward. So, what are you focusing on? This is a practical way. What do you value? What do you want to focus on? What do you want to create in this world? Like write it down. This is an active practice to be, and not just like I'm dreaming here, right? Like you're doing it. There's a few different things coming through in this moment as well, and there's a really spiritual side of like, okay, there's like this flame codex that's coming in. So DNA is crystallizing, and that might be lofty for some people to hear, but it's changing, and our sense of physicality of humanness is actively changing every day, especially with these energies. And so, getting into guided connection, conversation with the grids of the planet, of your inner heart, the coherence field, right? So, group, community, connection, meditation, planting, getting that balance from the technological field and world that's creating more amplification, right? AI, and this Aquarius nature has a huge tech side. The invitation and the what do I do with it, we have to balance it out. Going into Earth to like get into not just like I go for a walk, absolutely still go for walks, but it's going to amplify another step. How do you create, build, start farming, having a community garden, creating space that connects you to the earth, connects you to spirit, and connects you to other people, right? Like those are great things. Like, how can I add some physical space into something that connects all of those things, right? And creates a new weave together.
How do I spend more time in reality than this artificial reality that has become more of a lot of people's truth. I saw a meme the other day that was like, back in whatever, like one of the early years of the internet, we used to take a break from real life by going on the internet. And now we take a break from the internet by going to real life, to like being in person with someone doing something quote unquote real. And like, this is such a choice point for so many of us who are willing to face, willing to ask these questions, and willing to be a part of the change that we want to see, and being these massive pillars in the changes that we not only want to see, but that we are also demanding. That if we continue to prioritize and find the AI, digital space, social media, the like, this is my little avatar on the internet, these are the little fractals of my truth that you can see, versus our true descent into humanity. And like, where are you focusing, and where are you allowing that to be more of the capital T truth? And like, I think that is something that's so important for so many of us who put our work out on the internet, to really identify for ourselves, like, am I getting my validation from that? Am I feeling and identifying as that version of me instead of my true version of self? Or am I using it as the tool that it can be? And then can I impart that into the collective by choosing to come back to that over and over and over, instead of, oh, I hate social media, I have to use it, this like horrible relationship that so many, especially healers, have with social media? Can we truly like reclaim it as we are reclaiming the world, and go like, through my focus, through my awareness, through my intention, through my use, can I change the collective?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that all, I visually see this weave coming through into the throat chakra, right? How do we share it? How do we speak it? And that's in person. That's through podcast conversations. That's through conversations with your friends and family and community. And that's how you share your purpose and your voice and your passion online, on social medias, on this way that we connect across the globe, which I value
Yeah.
deeply. Though, how do we instill deeper value and respect and gratitude for the fact that it does connect us? Because imagine a life where we didn't have it, right? Like, we've been there. We could go back there again in some extreme circumstances. I'm not saying I'm calling in that timeline, or that I feel that that's real. I do really feel like we can be a collective experience and co-create with this, but we take it for advantage at this point.
Yeah.
We take advantage of it. We don't really see it for its worth. And we either like just rely on it, or we demonize it a lot of the time. It's kind of this both and of like, oh no, I don't want anything to do with that. Yet it can be this great gift. And with all this Aquarian energy, it's not going anywhere.
Yes.
And Pluto being an Aquarius right now, it wants to show us where we have a broken relationship with it, right? Like, and how do we reconcile that and really heal that, so that we can grow and expand and really ground into this new timeline? And honestly, and on that note, I think it's really beautiful to notice Mercury is our planet of communication and technological advances, and just our immediate communication is something that Mercury really just rules. And it's going into it's in Pisces, and it's going to be in Pisces from February 6th to April 14th, which is so long for the most inner planet that usually goes really fast around the sun, because we have a Mercury retrograde, and we're currently in the shadow period right now. And then the retrograde is going to start on February 26th and go till March 20th. So this will be like the a spring equinox as well, and then it'll be out of Pisces. We'll still have a little shadow period, but I think it's a beautiful thing to note that we can really utilize Mercury's energy at this time to have these deeper conversations with ourself, God, spirit, the universe, whatever that is to you, and then how to put that out in the world and really create change, because it is about standing up for what we believe in and coming together as a community, and not feeding these polarity separation timelines anymore, because those are going to ramp up like a the government and the things that are happening in that way is going to be like a child throwing a tantrum, right? Trying to get attention. We don't want to feed it. And this Pisces energy that Mercury will be in will be like, okay, how do we go deeper than that? How do we go into our subconscious? How do we go into our conversations with the divine and communicate and like really get in tune so that is strong? That's what I hear first before all the other shit.
Yeah.
And how do we make that really practical? Because that's where we need to share from going forward and honoring that we have this gift of connecting across the globe in this way.
Mm. Okay. Once again, a recap, everybody.
Mhm.
Saturn moving into Aries, and we are focusing here on this like 0 degree. What are you initiating? What are you starting? What's that like first major tonality for those of you who follow, you know what I mean? The frequency scale, the when you sound the dough, how far can you get by sounding the dough to like move through something that you're consciously creating and intentionally bringing maturity and integrity into that. We talked about starting of eclipse season and the movement with the new moon. We talked about the power of the Chinese New Year and moving from the wood snake into the fire horse, and how it doesn't just like all of a sudden turn over on that singular day, that like it is going to take some time from going from our bellies on the earth to four hooves who can confidently run. But in what way are you growing that? In what way are you supporting the like health and the vitality and the ferocity of that? We talked a lot about how much fire is coming and what that means for preparation to be able to utilize that fire and not get lost in the sauce of all that intensity. And now we are going to wrap up by talking about the movement from the 17th to the 20th in this very, very potent time, in addition to more practical applications of, okay, so this is big and important. And I agree with you, ladies, that it's big and important. What do I personally do? Outside of booking a session with a priestess, what can I do on my own in addition to potentially booking a session or deciding that maybe this time this year is the space for me to look at mentorship that is beyond just the third dimension? Because I feel like mentorship in general, as it pertains to like a business coach or a tax strategist or someone who does something more like for the body or health or these like more tangible things, the intangible is so potent and so important. And the general public is starting to realize how much more than the matter based dimension affects all of us, is really there, is very real. And we are grounding magic into this dimension, on this grid work, on this planet for so many more people than just the seers. And I think that is really important, that magic is for every single one of you listening, whether you are a practitioner, a priestess, you stumbled upon this, a friend sent it to you, you've never been into this, or you're listening to it and you're like, I don't believe any of this, like magic is still for you. And that is like one of the big pieces here. So a little recap, and let's continue on to what's going on the 20th. Why is there this like massive progression? What happens between these two pieces, the 17th and the 20th? And like, what do we do with it yet once again?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Uh,
Magic is for all of you. I love it. So we're talking about a conjunction between Saturn, which we've talked a lot about, and Neptune, which is the god of dreams, illusions, deep consciousness, subconscious, water, intuition, our spiritual connection to self. And we as a collective have been experiencing Saturn and Neptune very close to each other for about a year. And they've gotten really close to a conjunction, which means essentially a connection at the same degree in the same sign. Um, but yet have then retrograded, so that whole pause period, back into signs of Pisces, and they cross that threshold together, and then they cross the threshold back into Aries, and now they are finally going to meet. And this is something that I have been studying, other astrologers have been studying for years. For instance, I'm not going to give you all the details, but a major conjunction that we experienced between Saturn and Pluto was January 12th of 2020. And we studied that one for about the same amount of time. And then we witnessed what happened in the year of 2020. And my point with that is that it brings major collective change.
Mhm.
And that is my point again by talking about Saturn and Neptune at this conjunction at the 0 degree Aries point is Aries, excuse me, is going to bring major collective change. Um, Now what is highlighted here? We are dissolving the old identity. We've already touched on some of this. Obviously, we're talking about Saturn, but it's Saturn has this very like iconic I am who I am, like, side of identity. And then the dissolving comes from Neptune. The water is coming in and washing it all away, but it's coming through like massive amounts of pressure. So like deep ocean, right? Like it coming in and really redefining our unique individual sovereignty. That's how I would personally redefine some of this Aries energy is our individual sovereignty having a collective experience,
Mm.
co-creating in this world together. And for some impact, I really like these dates and some of this understanding. So Saturn and Neptune have not conjunct in Aries in over like 6,000 years. And again, Aries is this birth initiation start point. We want the starting line, even though it's been really tough to get here. We want something new, right? We want a world that we enjoy living in where there isn't all of this chaos and hatred. And, and again, is the 20th going to hit and it's all going to go away? No. But can we imprint that? This is the what do we do with it? Choose where you put your energy.
Yes.
Are you fighting with people on the internet, or are you going out and meditating or volunteering at something community wise, like to support? How do you want to focus your energy to actually create change? Because we can't just sit back and assume that it's going to all happen for us. Oh, well, the planets are doing it. The ladies on the internet told me so, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. No, you are an active participant in this. And another fun date that I really love, the last time that Neptune and Saturn conjuncted was June of 1989 in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about freedom, exploration, borders, travel. The end of 89, so just a few months later, was the fall of the Berlin Wall. This brings revolution.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, so it's bringing that, but we have to choose to be an active part of it, or it's not just happening. I mean, some
Yes.
chaos will happen, sure, because other people are choosing to be active participants. Like things in the world are happening because people are making choices.
Yes.
So if you want, what do I do? Where to start? Make an active choice that you are the main character in your story, in this world, and that you are going to live your life.
Yes. Sovereignty means radical responsibility for your internal state because your internal state projects outward. And so, if you do not already have a practice of inner alchemy, how you transmute density into divinity inside your own self without any tools. I'm not saying you can never use a tool, but if you do not have the capability to do it on your own, then the tools become the crutches. And then a lot of times it moves into a codependent relationship with those things. And so I think I'm asking, I'm encouraging, I'm imploring so many of you, as many of you as possible, to consider what is my inner alchemy practice? What do I know how to do? What do I have within my own self that allows me to chew up the density and rebirth it into divinity through my own self? That can be, where do I put my focus? That can be, how do I boundary the things that I'm consuming? The like, oh, I have to be up to date on the real world, the this and that. But how are you doing that? And how is that affecting you? Kelsey already mentioned, how are you handling your anger, your aggression? How do we work with that? Is that an alchemical practice, or is that a reaction that's just shot off and other people then have to take responsibility for your spewing of your big feelings and your emotions? We're talking about, the toddler tantrum of the patriarchy. Are you in any way, shape, or form offering a toddler tantrum that other people or other aspects of the collective have to deal with? In any way, shape, or form, are you separate from your sovereignty? Are you separate from your radical responsibility? And what practices, whether that's self reflection, journaling, meditation, prayer, somatic practice, dancing, ritual, ceremony, for you to ask yourself those questions to get self aware and then not get stuck in the self awareness. Actually, move into the space of inner alchemy where you learn how to digest, integrate, and embody so that what you are is taking those truths, those big awarenesses, those things that you have learned, that you have fought for in your own life, that you take that to the collective and you change the world with.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Just letting that
Yeah.
marinate for a second too, right? Like really hear it, process it, let your cells awaken. And this is where the accountability and the honesty with self comes in first. And again, if we want to get more fit, more muscular, stronger, endurance, that kind of thing, we change our diet. We start going to the gym and we hire a trainer, right? Like this gets to be the same spiritual experience as that, right? Like we change what we're intaking. We change what not just the food that we're processing, but are we watching the news? What are you feeding yourself consciously all the time? What is your internal dialect like? How are
Yes.
you talking to yourself, right? Because that is the first and foremost thing that you're internalizing and digesting consistently. And then it's the practices. Again, it's the ceremony, it's the ritual, it's the meditation, whatever that is. Though you touched on, and I want to wrap back here, it not being a crutch, it not now being
Mhm.
a spiritual bypass or this thing that you're reaching for, these like medicine sit after medicine sit after medicine sit. You have to integrate it. Look at your relationships around. Are they thriving? Do you have energy to connect with those around you? And really deepen these bonds because that's what's going to go forward and really amplify and support each other as these timelines are changing. And then again, you hire a trainer, you come to a metaphysical priestess that wants to help you on a dimensional level, right? Like if
Mhm.
you don't have a full understanding of how to process these tools and use them in an applicable way, then there are those of us who have trained our many lifetimes to support you in this journey and really help give context and application and a very hands-on experience to changing your life in these beautiful ways that we don't fully process or understand or have language for in the physical because it is so much vaster than that and it will continue to expand rapidly, and we're here to hold you and support you and to really see through the timelines so that this feels good in the physical body because it's changing our entire spinal structure, right? Like every single one has a distortion code that's clearing out. So can you amplify your own experience and your health by deeply understanding and having support so that these practices are in your body?
Hmm. I've been saying that your issues, your problems are not one dimensional. So you require a multi-dimensional solution. And I think
Mm.
so many people coming up to this precipice have been what I like to call Roombaing, bumping up against the wall, just trying to do their job, unable to like move through it because the world, society, the programming has told so many of us without any like conflict that your shit is one dimensional. And we are now, as I've said, magic is for everyone. And yet you also have to own the fact that the difficulty, the stagnation, the like what is piled in not just your body, because your body keeps the score, not just your mind, because your mind holds all of those things. The subconscious holds all of those things, but you're energetic. And those three pieces together, it's a multi-dimensional problem. It's a multi-dimensional stagnation. It's a multi-dimensional issue. And when we are reaching precipices like we are talking about right now, precipice magic is super potent. And a lot of times we hear like threshold precipice in conjunction with the quantum because the quantum connects to those moments so much. Whenever you are shifting, whenever you're changing, moving through a door frame, moving into another room, getting on a plane, going up into the air and coming back down, when you move, when you break up, when you start a new job, these precipice moments hold a lot of quantum potential. And what we are saying to you is that you do not have to do this alone, no matter where you are on this journey, whether you're going, ladies, I'm not necessarily sure I believe in 99.9% of what y'all are saying, but I do deeply feel that my ship might be a little bit more than 1D. And if that could help, I might be available, all the way to you are a fellow priestess and are like, wait, I'm realizing that I have not invested in being held, being seen, being supported at this high level. And I'm realizing I've been bracing and holding and doing it all on my own. And we each need to not be doing it on our own. There's only so much that can be contained within the mind, within the body, when we are talking about so much collective quantum power to rapidly change our world, our planet, our reality, these dimensions, the quantum possibility. Doing it alone is not enough. And so we are doing it internally. Yes, we need to master the internal. We need to have our own process for inner alchemy, but then we also need to, once again, descend into the humanity. And part of being human is to be part of the collective, part of the other people, part of your tribe, be in sacred community and not just be for the self. And I think that's the biggest shift between the patriarchy to the matriarchy, is not just a woman or a child or someone who's non-binary up at the top instead of a man. It's this circle, and it's this willingness for each and every one of us to not only receive, but to give and to like show up in the fullest expression of our truth and our gifts to support the collective. And this is how we change reality. And now is the time, if you have at any point have been willing to answer the call, we ask, come and answer it now. Whether that's just sitting with one of these questions for yourself, if that's a multi-day ritual ceremony, if that's, you know what, I've tried meditating before, maybe I'll come back to it. If that's booking a session or investing in long-term mentorship to change the trajectory of your own business, your own offering. If you are a mouthpiece and you want to be supported in your connection to that higher power that does desire to speak through you and through your gifts, whatever one of these things that calls from your heart, take that intentional action step, making sure that it is in that joy and in that beauty and in that truth, but is of integrity and is of maturity. And once again, releasing that pressure of like, I get to be, I get to do. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a like, I took a step and then chose to take this other step and then moved around and redid, like, but allowing yourself to use this momentum and really benefit from the precipice magic that is bubbling around for all of us. Please, please, please take one or many or all of the things that Kelsey is so generously, beautifully translating in these digestible ways for you to not only see it as a little infographic and go, oh, that makes sense, but like, how do I take that once again into my body, digest, integrate, embody, and be a different version of myself with these truths?
Affirmed. Yes. Thank
Mm.
you for your distillation. That was so delicious. And I really do send that call, that prayer, that invitation out into the collective for all willing hearts to really feel this medicine and this offering. This is such a beautiful time, and it is about the choice. It's about the initiation. It's about the surrendering into the divine. And we lose ourselves in the sense of control. Um, and so it's that softening. It's the open heart. Like, okay, I don't
Mm.
know what's coming, but
Mhm.
I am here. We chose to be here at this time, and I'm going for it.
Yes. Yes. Before we wrap
Before
up, Kelsey, I would love for you to share anything that you might be doing choosing what practices are at the forefront for you. Like, what is one or a few of the things that you are going to make sure that you do? I know you already mentioned to us that every Lunar New Year you do your 13 card pull and like look at the trajectory of the year to come for yourself. I would love to hear and kind of share with everybody listening, what else is something that you're going to choose to do during this time that like solidifies it for yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you. This will be great for me to just be accountable with myself as well, because that's a big highlight for me, is keeping the commitment and the dedication, that devotion to myself and this path forward. And so I love my practice of my breath work, my channeling moment. So I journal in my morning practice, or in the evening, even when the planets are louder and the world is quieter,
Mm.
and really distilling a lot of this information. These questions that I've asked everybody today is something I am deeply sitting with myself. I love reflection and I love journaling. That's a huge piece that's alive for me. And then I also have a embodiment, like dance somatic practice, that I like to move when different things come up and I want to feel where they are in my body. I'm actually also creating a online container that I'll be offering to the public on moving through your somatic emotions and how you can actually like unify those, so you can understand and process, and then also like find out where they are in your body and how to be with them. And then also in the astrology, right? Like really offering myself some deeper communication with the planets, and like running my own chart to see where this Aries influence is it for me, and what house it's affecting. I've been doing a lot of that already, but that will be an active practice throughout this timeline, throughout these years, right? How is it affecting, what area in my life is it affecting, and how can I process that better? And then this Mercury retrograde is a big one. I know you and I have personally talked about that. And just like, where is Pisces in my chart? How is that activating my own Mercury energy, and like my communication with God, source, and myself, and where that unifies, what needs to be highlighted, and how can I deepen those experiences. Also, I feel a big call for more ceremony and ritual. So I have practices. I will be doing a ceremony and celebration, I like to think of it as, for the solar eclipse and the Lunar New Year, and going forward. I have some lovely lives planned with you for both those 17th and the 20th as well, so that we can get on social media and have a conversation with the public and just continue to share. So the root to all of that is being in my purpose and in my voice, and really activating what's alive, what's coming through, and and sharing that outwardly, so that it's that authentic thread can create its impact wherever it desires to be, because I am not the one like wielding or intending it to be in the certain place, but just by offering my authentic expression, it's going to land somewhere. And that is the surrender to the divine, that I'm like, I'm in full trust. I'm just here to share and exude what is authentically coming through for me. And that is a main focus within my business, my offerings for my clients. I really just want to be this channel of inspiration to people, to the world.
Well, you guys will have to check out the show notes where we will list all of Kelsey's important questions, both the ones that we talked about live and just the others that she has put together. In the show notes, we will also have the intentional dates and each of those pieces, so that if you guys want to get even more information. And then, as always, we will have all of Kelsey's connection points on social media and the links to book a service if you would like to go deeper into the astrology. I know Kelsey's also launched heart de-armoring sessions recently, and then longer term mentorship with the priestess. So make sure that you guys definitely take a look at the show notes for today's episode, because there is a lot of juicy goodness from Kelsey that is absolutely timeless, and then so much that is deeply important and will benefit your practice for right here and right now. And as she mentioned, we will also be going live. This episode will be launching, and we will be continuing to offer support and education, integration, embodiment for the time to come, because the priestess
Yeah.
path never quiets, never slows, and is always just getting bigger, bolder, and asking more of not only the two of us, but each and every priestess that I have brought on the show and have come in contact with. So thank you so much for being here with me for not only the launch of season one, but the launch of season two. Thank you endlessly from my priestess heart to yours for being a sounding board and a safe pillar and a mirror and just a beautiful example of what it means to descend into the humanity and let your priestesshood move through you. It's one of the things that I look up to you the most about, that like watching you in the third dimension is just as amazing and beautiful and wonderful and enjoyable as it is to watch you in the higher dimensions. And you show me how possible it is to love the physical human life as much as we love the up and out and magical.
Thank you so much, dear sister. I love you. Thank you for your magic, your medicine, and all your potency that comes through in emotions that you speak through in words. It is so divine to be here, and there is no other place I would rather be than really offering this medicine and magic in these episodes, in these seasons. And I just deeply celebrate and honor everything you're doing and all of the priestesses that you are giving voice to and platform to so that we can share our medicine and magic and really create and support each other and the world around us as the magic is awakening more and more every day. And I deeply see you, I deeply honor you, and I love you dearly.